Hello. Remember back in the day when I did a 100-day project explanation and we talked about just kind of what the dice meant and how I did things? Well, I changed it. It wasn't working. There are a couple of reasons why it wasn't working. Reason one, I didn't like it. There were some things on there that I was just like, I hate this. I hated working in pencil. I hated working in pen. I didn't love some of the choices that I had when I rolled the dice. I really dreaded whenever it said number of figures, and I was definitely not interested in doing multiple figures. A lot of my work includes a solitary figure in them. And I mean to do it that way. So having multiple figures was kind of a practice to see if that's something that I wanted to continue. And turns out it's not. So I revamped it and I changed it. And that's okay. It's changed a couple of times since the beginning of the 100-day project. We're only 25 days in, but it's going to be fine. I started out with a single 6-sided die, and then I moved to my D&D dice, which I love. I'll link in the bio where I got them from. Finnegan Finch, so good. Anyway, they're beautiful. I don't know if you can tell from the camera, but there's little feathers and gold inside of them, and they make me very happy every time I use them. So I revamped it. Here's my lovely little guide. She's cute. And I know it looks like it's chaos, but it makes more sense now than it did before. So let's talk about it. Every time I roll, I still use that D6, but I've changed a couple of the options. One of them is it's called Line of Action. It's a website I use for references, and Pose. I use a book of poses to help me decide on the figure. And a lot of what this project is helping me practice figure drawing and figure poses. And that's a hugely important part of my practice. So that's why it's kind of on there twice. Plus, in Line of Action, I can do things like facial expressions and hands and feet, which are also really important to my work. So we've changed that. And now on the chart, it tells you D6 equals activity. And then I go from brushstrokes and minutes, and it shows me, oh, you're going to go to the D20, and it'll tell you how many of those. And then you can go to D8 down here. But essentially what's happening is I've just changed I've modified some of the things that I'm going to do, and the arrows kind of point me in the right direction and kind of help guide me through the process. And it's really for me. So I'd love to do an updated one today. The other thing I've taken out is I'm not using pencil anymore. I mean, I'll use pencil when I'm drawing, but I'm not using pencil as one of the activities. I just didn't like it. So I've revamped it in that way. And instead of doing pencil, I have allowed myself a wild, where if it rolls, I get to pick. I've also added an artist choice in for my activities. And the rest of it has essentially stayed the same. The one thing with the pose is how I decide the page number. I have incorporated the other 10-sided die that counts by tens as a way to help me decide on what page I'm doing. And that's incorporating this D10, and it's also incorporating this D10. So I'm excited to show you what's next. So here's the drill. There's the D6. It's my choice today. I chose to do pose because it's a new thing for me. So we have to pull out the D10s. The tens place is the tens, and then it shows up 7, 30, and then I roll it again, and it's a 1. So we're going to turn to page 731 in Study of Pose. And here she is. It's a weird one. I was like, how am I going to do this? But it's fine. We're going to make it work. So then we move to D8. That tells us we're doing it in marker. And then that shows us that we're moving on to D12, which is color. And I actually used the D20 as well here. So I chose yellow, orange, and, well, I didn't choose, the dice did, and yellow, green. One of my favorite tools to get started is always this hex chart for Copic markers that I bought for $5. It's fantastic, and it helps me kind of see the colors together. The next thing I do is I start drawing in pencil so that I can erase it later. I'm essentially creating shapes to help me kind of see where the body is in space and where I'm going to place the figure. Everyone always says, like, I can't even draw a stick figure. That is literally how you start drawing figures. You draw a stick figure, you start with boxes, and then after you've created what essentially is the bones, you start adding in the muscles, the skin, the hair, things that bodies have that make them soft. So if you're like, I can't even draw a stick figure, it's okay. Start with a stick figure. Learn how to draw a stick figure in space. Practice that, and then you can start drawing figures for real. The best thing about this and the way that I do this is because I do it in pencil and then I outline it, you'll see later in pen. It means I can erase the pencil and I can kind of fix all of my mistakes almost beforehand when I'm working with the pencil. So here I am coming in with this Copic marker. It's a pretty small tip, which I like to use to start my outlines. I'm just kind of adding in the details. I am fixing a few things as I draw. There's something weird about the hands, and so I shortened it to make it make more sense and to be more like a real body. So that's what I'm doing here. So I'm erasing all the pencil lines underneath so it's nice and crisp and clear with the ink. And then I'm coming in. I decided not to do the skin in a weird color, so I just picked like E00 in the markers, and I'm adding that in. I always add the base tone first, and then I come in with a different color, a darker color, and I add in the shadows. Always be thinking about where the light is coming from whenever you're drawing figures to make them more believable. You've got to think about, okay, where is the light? The nice thing about the study of pose book is that the light is always coming from a single direction and it's in black and white. It's really easy to see. So then after that, I can start adding other details to this piece. I always put plants or nature in anything that I do, and so of course, I'm adding a plant. If you're curious and you're a plant person, this is called a crinum swamp lily. And they are growing in my yard. They have a really pretty bloom on them. And I made these really big, so she seems really tiny in this picture. I kind of like it. She's like a little fairy, maybe, or my husband was like, oh, it's like Thumbelina. It's cool, you know, I feel good about it. I like how the composition turned out, so it doesn't bother me at all. And now we're adding in that yellow green. Again, I'm going in with the base color, and I love the color on this and how it looks with the color of her skin in this case. I did end up pretty much running out of this color. And the nice thing about using alcohol markers like this is I can refill them. So I just need to go get a refill color. The second lily, swamp lily, didn't do as well, but that's okay. And here I am just coming in with a slightly darker shade for the lily. This is a quick exercise, so I'm not really that worried about it, but it did kind of fix up some of that weird streaking in the original color, which is fine. The nicest thing about this is I'm just gonna go pick up a refill cartridge from the store. Fun fact about this set of markers that I have, I actually bought them off of Facebook Marketplace and it was like 70 bucks, and I have all these markers that I can use. I'd love to expand my collection, and I have with some different Copic markers, but this set was a perfect start for me when I was getting into markers. She's getting peachy orange hair here to go with our color theme. I felt it was appropriate, and honestly, I feel like it turned out really fun for a quick sketch, like my 100-day project. I will just add my signature to this little sketch, and I hope you've enjoyed this video and that you'll like, comment, and subscribe so we can continue to create together.